Happy New Year's, everybody. I hope you had a fun holiday season, but it's video time. And we have a huge one here because Stylus went ahead and buffed almost everything in Phantom Forces, in what is probably one of the biggest balance changes in the history of this game's existence, including a lot of weapons getting entire revamps, basically giving us new weapons. Now, there's a crap ton of stuff to go over, and I'm going to try and cover basically the most important bits of the update alongside some of the more minor changes as well. And at the end of the video, we're going to go over my thoughts on this update and what I think it means for the future of the game. So without further ado, we're going to ignore the fact that I had this whole video made and had to remake it because they pushed the update, and we're gonna get straight into these gargantuan changes. Also, don't forget to get the Roblox holiday sweaters linked below. This is the last chance to get them. Okay, video time. So first, let's talk about some of the biggest weapons changes made. First is going to be muzzle velocity, also known as how fast the bullets go. Since Phantom Forces works on a system where you have to compensate for bullet drop and the speed of your bullets whenever firing, especially at moving players, now an absolutely huge amount of weapons have had their muzzle velocities way increased, making some weapons, like the FAMAS, have even faster bullets than the BFG, which of course most people have used, and I'm going to use it as a baseline for the comparison here, with it having a muzzle velocity of 3,000. Now, the most notable weapons that got increases are the AK-12 going from 2,500 muzzle velocity to 2,950, the AN-94 from 2,000 to 2,950, the AUG A1, A2, and A3 going from 2,500 to 3,200, way faster than the BFG, absolutely insane, and the FAMAS going from 2,000 to 3,100. Honestly, we could just do this all day. They made so many weapons have like a ridiculous muzzle velocity, and I think probably the most controversial part about this general update is the fact that a lot of weapons are going to turn this game into kind of a point-and-click adventure, with basically little compensation needed. Now, on one hand, it makes it a little bit easier for newer players to use and get used to how the weapons work, but on the other hand, I could see why a lot of people would say it makes the game not require any skill, and I could definitely understand why people would be confused as to why a lot of the rifles now have the same muzzle velocity as snipers. But I think it's a huge change that I'm going to be, maybe okay with. Don't scream in the comments, please. A lot of weapons also got fire rate increases, including the SCAR-L going from 625 to 650, the AUG A2 from 700 to 750, the 5.0 from 650 to 800, of which we're going to cover more later on in the video, because this weapon is now one of many that has been hugely revamped, the AUG H-bar from 650 to 750, and most importantly in my view, a few of the snipers here, including the AWS from 65 to 69, the intervention from 38 to 45, albeit with a slight muzzle velocity decrease for some reason, the Dragunov SVU from 150 fire rate doubling to 300 fire rate, and it being added to the DMRs category for some reason, the Dragunov SVDS going from 75 to an actually unbelievable 280 fire rate for some reason, and the WAT 2000 from 120 more than doubling to 250. There are others, but I feel like this is going to be basically the bulk of the interesting ones. Honestly, this part of the update I find is going to be really game-changing for a lot of people, making snipers kind of just faster overall, and I can imagine a lot of people are not going to be happy with that. Definitely an interesting choice. There's also going to be a lot more of the insert sniper name is overpowered and this is just Call of Duty now comments. So I'll leave it up to you whether this is a positive update or not, though I am happy that the WAT 2000 got some love. Speaking of snipers and Call of Duty, we do have a new point multiplier. So you've got your double kill XP, your headshot XP, your long shot XP. Well, now you've got your quickscope XP. Now, alongside having extra quickscope XP, there's also no scope XP and hipfire XP. So I think it's just another way to be able to get people to get a little bit more XP, which honestly is good. Yeah, that's the thing. So they've increased the speed of snipers, and they've added a quickscope extra XP thing. Interesting. Some of the pistols also got fire rate increases, including the Deagle XIX from 200 to 400. I haven't used it yet, so whatever you're seeing up on screen is me being excited with it, presumably. And the Executioner from 120 to 350 fire rate, which is pretty neat, I guess. Now for some of the larger changes whenever it comes to weapons, the overhauls. By that, I mean weapons that are drastically overhauled to basically be new weapons, for better or worse. I'll let you decide, but let's talk about them because there's actually quite a few to go over. First is going to be with the 5.0. Like I said earlier, it got a massive fire rate increase from 650 to 800, but alongside that, it also got a lot more reserve ammo, a much faster reload time, and just overall, apparently lower recoil. Overall, they just seem to make this weapon a faster choice, and in my opinion, I think it was kind of needed. The BWC-9A got a complete overhaul for its like, what, 4th or 5th time since it was freaking added to the game. Oh, it makes me mad sometimes. Now, before this update, it was essentially a very tiny version of the HK21E with a very similar recoil style, fire rate, and fun factor. Basically just in SMG form. But it is a whole new beast now. First of all, they changed the way that the recoil works for it. It basically has the new recoil system, alongside increasing its damage from 34 maximum to 36 maximum, and its minimum damage from 18 to 21, making it at minimum a 5-shot rather than a 6-shot kill at maximum range. It also got a faster reload time too. However, they almost cut the fire rate in half from 1,000 to 666. Kind of a big letdown for me because the fire rate was like the whole selling point for me personally. However, it still is a pretty unique SMG. I like the way that the recoil recoil looks, it still feels pretty polished. And with the damage upgrade, it's that little bit extra, like still decent, if that makes sense. Though, honestly, like I said, the fire rate was kind of the thing for it for me before. The M16A1, a fantastic early game unlock, got a new fire mode that we've only seen on, I believe, one other weapon prior, which is going to be the ramp up fire mode. Before, it was just the Scar Hammer or the Hammer IAR that had this. Basically, it is a slow fire rate that very quickly ramps up to be a super fast one. And now the M16A1 actually has that. I'm honestly mixed on that. Sure, it makes the weapon a little bit more unique and different to use, especially for being a lower level unlock, but this changes the weapon a little bit more than I would like it to have, because it does have a fairly small magazine, which basically makes it feel like it's just a slow fire rate, and then the last couple bullets are actually that original fast fire rate. I'm really mixed on how this plays. I should also add that if you use a muzzle booster with any weapons that have the ramp up fire mode, like the Scar Hammer, or in this case, the M16A1 as well, it does kind of remove this effect. It basically doubles the ramp up speed for both the M16A1 and the Scar Hammer. You can also see how this works by the way that the fire rate increases in the bottom right as well. Kind of strange seeing the number fluctuate as much. It's honestly a little bit distracting, but that might just be me. Now, the SVU and the SVDS getting those fire rate changes is going to for sure make sniping a lot faster overall, as if the SVDS didn't already feel overpowered as is. Now, I typically prefer when games have a bit of a purpose-built sniping style, so more akin to things like the BFG and the MTW20, but those things still exist in the game and play how they normally do. However, we'll probably very shortly find out that these fire rate changes are going to be a huge annoyance to the average player. You do you though, Watt 2000. I love you. Overall, there are also a ton of decreased reload times too. We went over a few a little bit ago, but there are a ton to go over, so I'll just go over kind of the more notable ones, being the AUG A1, the TAR 21, the C7A2, the AUG H-Bar, which is a ton faster now, the MP10, my boy is back in business, finally getting some love, and there are a fair few others, but those are the big few ones that I would say alongside ones that we talked about earlier. A lot of weapons also got this new multi-point graph for damage. The only weapon that I could think of that had this before was the M107 with the Barrett conversion, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, but now a lot of them have it. Basically, it just makes the weapon have more gradual drop-off when it comes to damage, rather than just, you're doing 99 damage, now you're doing 1 damage. An exaggeration, of course, but you kind of get my point. But now, my opinions. Controversial that I even said the word opinions. I know you'll have your own opinions on that in the comments below. However, let's see if yours truly likes this update. Yeah, I kind of do. But to be a little bit more specific, yes, I like some of the quality of life changes, things like the fire rate increases, some of the weapon overhauls, and the fact that technically we got our first new DMR in years, if you can consider the SVU a new DMR, even though it was like one of the OG weapons. But some of the other changes I'm definitely pretty mixed on. I like the muzzle velocity changes on paper because it sounds like it could tighten the skill gap a bit, where it makes new players have a little bit of an easier time getting used to the different weapons at range, but I can see the other perspective for sure, where people are going to say it's just Call of Duty now and makes the game too easy, as well as people who really love these weapons and are going to have to relearn them, I guess, in a sense. So I can see both sides of it. I had a ton of comments about the fact that changes like this make the game too easy on my M16A3 video from the other day. I'm sure I'm going to have plenty more on this video, which you're entitled to have your own feelings, of course. But the biggest thing that I'm happy for is going to be the fact that Stylus took a chance. Stylus has taken so many different guns and radically changed them in a ton of ways, and a lot more of them being weapons that are fairly popular too. And I like the fact that they did this because it shows that they're trying new things, which is something that a lot of devs really don't do. The new recoil system is a good point to this as well. I'll say things like the quickscope point multiplier are a little bit silly, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, it doesn't really matter. But overall, whether you like it or not, I'm glad that they're taking chances to see kind of how the community likes these things. There are just way too many changes overall to cover in a timely fashion, so I'll just scroll through them real quick on screen. Feel free to pause and read it as you go. Also, Stylus has it linked in their Discord server as well if you want to check out the full thing there and read it at your own pace. Huge thanks to everybody who watched until the end. Again, I hope you're as excited for the new year as I am. Thank you guys for giving me an awesome 2023, and here's to an awesome 2024. Thanks to all the channel members who help me make content like this as often as I do possible. You guys are amazing. Don't forget to check out the Roblox holiday sweaters, which have very little time left up. And of course, consider subscribing if you enjoyed the video and watching my Phantom Forces playlist up on screen right now. Peace, dudes.